What if the very leaders entrusted to guide millions in faith were hiding a dark truth? Shocking allegations have now surfaced from deep within the Church of God in Christ, involving none other than presiding Bishop J. Drew Sheard and board member Willie C. Green, accusations of abuse of power, intimidation, and a cover-up that could shake the very foundation of COGIC. You won't believe who's finally speaking out and the disturbing truth they claim to have lived through. Stay with us. The silence is officially broken. For years, the Church of God in Christ, one of the largest Pentecostal denominations in the world, has maintained a pristine image of holiness, spiritual discipline, and leadership. But now allegations are rising from within its own walls, threatening to dismantle that reputation. At the center of this scandal are two of the most powerful figures in COGIC leadership, presiding Bishop J. Drew Sheard and Bishop Willie C. Green. Once revered for their influence and dedication, they're now facing serious accusations of abusing their positions, silencing dissent, and allegedly retaliating against those who dared to speak the truth. In this video, we're diving deep into the lawsuit that has everyone in the church world talking, from leaked court filings and whistleblower testimonies, to jaw-dropping claims of manipulation, intimidation, and the misuse of church funds. We're breaking it all down with clarity and facts. You'll hear from the victims. We'll explore the internal emails that allegedly exposed the cover-up, and we'll ask the hard questions. How deep does this go? And who is really protecting who? So stay tuned, because what you're about to discover will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about the church leadership. And trust us, this is just the beginning. To truly understand the weight of these accusations and why this lawsuit is shaking the foundation of the Church of God in Christ, we need to start with the structure of power that governs it. COGIC isn't just another denomination. It's a global institution, one of the largest Pentecostal denominations in the world, with millions of members across the U.S., Africa, Europe, and the Caribbean. It's known for its massive convocation gatherings, high-profile bishops, gospel music influence, and deep cultural impact in the Black church community. But behind the pulpit, behind the cameras and the sermons, lies a complex network of hierarchy and control. And at the very top of that pyramid is presiding Bishop J. Drew Sheard, the face of COGIC's leadership since his election in 2021. Bishop Sheard, the husband of gospel legend Karen Clark Sheard and father of Kiara Sheard, is both a spiritual leader and a powerful political figure within church governance. Serving closely beside him is Bishop Willie C. Green, a member of the General Board, the church's most elite governing body. These men don't just preach, they control. They oversee appointments of pastors, manage millions in church finances, approve ministry initiatives, and hold sway over regional bishops and state leaders. This kind of centralized power has created what many insiders now describe as an untouchable circle, a place where decisions are made behind closed doors and accountability is practically non-existent. And for years, no one questioned it. Why would they? With Bishop Sheard's charismatic image, strong public persona, and deep family ties in gospel royalty, he was seen as both chosen and protected. Bishop Green, known for his firebrand sermons and close connection to Sheard, only added to the circle of influence. But as the saying goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Recent whistleblower accounts suggest that this centralized power has been used not for God's work, but for personal gain. Allegations of retaliation against pastors, financial mismanagement, and moral cover-ups have been whispered behind church doors for years. Now they're being shouted in a court of law. And here's where it gets chilling. Some claim they were threatened, ostracized, or even blacklisted simply for raising concerns about leadership behavior. But what exactly triggered this explosive lawsuit? Who were the first to break the silence? And why are so many current and former members suddenly speaking up now? You're about to find out. But trust us, it only gets darker from here. Now let's get to the heart of the firestorm, the lawsuit that is sending shockwaves through every COGIC congregation from Memphis to Milwaukee. The lawsuit, filed in a state civil court, names presiding Bishop J. Drew Sheard and Bishop Willie C. Green as key defendants, accusing them of abuse of authority, wrongful termination, intimidation, and violation of both church and civil codes. At the center of the legal complaint is a former state supervisor, a high-ranking female leader in the COGIC denomination, who alleges that she was removed from her position after privately raising questions about financial irregularities, unauthorized expenditures, and retaliatory leadership practices within her district. And here's the kicker, she's not alone. Since her case hit the public record, multiple pastors, evangelists, and former administrators have come forward, claiming they were either silenced or punished for questioning leadership decisions. Several allege that they were threatened with excommunication, publicly embarrassed in church gatherings, or had stipends withheld for defying certain top-level mandates. According to the filed documents, the lawsuit outlines 5 main areas of concern. 1. Abuse of power in clergy appointments. Pastors and district leaders allege they were removed or reassigned without due process, often for political reasons or personal vendettas. One whistleblower claims that Bishop Green personally told him, "You're either loyal to the circle or you're out." That quote has now become central to the public backlash. 2. Financial mismanagement. The suit claims that large sums of money meant for youth ministry, missionary work, and hurricane relief efforts were either misused or mysteriously unaccounted for. Screenshots of internal memos suggest that some expenditures were approved without board consent, allegedly under Bishop Sheard's direct oversight. One memo, leaked by an insider, shows a $75,000 emergency fund transfer with no recipient listed. 3. Gender-based discrimination. The lead plaintiff, a seasoned female minister with over 30 years of service, says she was systematically excluded from decision-making circles and dismissed without just cause, after questioning why female leaders were being bypassed for key regional roles. The lawsuit accuses leadership of fostering a good old boys club culture that punishes strong female voices. 4th, retaliation and blacklisting. Another chilling part of the lawsuit describes how clergy who spoke up about these issues were targeted. One pastor says his church's jurisdictional status was downgraded after he questioned budget discrepancies. Another was denied reappointment despite over a decade of faithful service. 5. Spiritual manipulation. Perhaps most disturbing is the claim that both Sheard and Green use spiritual language and prophetic intimidation to silence critics. One line quoted from a sermon allegedly delivered by Bishop Green reportedly included, "Those who touch the anointed will face divine judgment, and they won't need to wait till heaven to feel it." Lawyers representing the plaintiffs argue that this wasn't just rhetoric. It was spiritual coercion intended to keep members quiet, loyal, and submissive. And just when the church hoped the matter would stay behind closed doors, word began to spread like wildfire. Church blogs, gospel YouTube channels, and even secular news outlets picked up the story. One headline read, "From the pulpit to the courtroom, COGIC faces internal war over truth and power." So now the church faces a critical crossroads. One of America's most revered denominations is standing trial, not just in a court of law, but in the court of public opinion. As the lawsuit gained traction, it wasn't just court filings doing the talking. Leaked internal documents, confidential emails, and even secretly recorded conversations began surfacing online, and suddenly what seemed like isolated claims turned into a full-blown internal uprising. And here's where things get really intense. These leaks didn't come from outsiders. They came from people still inside COGIC. According to insider reports, at least 3 current national leaders, all still active within the church, have quietly provided evidence to legal counsel representing the plaintiffs. Why? Because they say they could no longer sit by and watch the spiritual integrity of the institution be hijacked for personal agendas. Let's break down some of the most damning pieces of evidence so far. 1. Leaked email chain. Do not allow reinstatement. One of the most circulated documents is an internal email allegedly sent from Bishop Willie C. Green to several state bishops regarding a problematic leader, later identified as one of the whistleblowers. In this email, Green allegedly writes, "Under no circumstances should she be reinstated. She has shown herself to be untrustworthy and combative. We must protect the credibility of the board." Legal experts argue this directly contradicts COGIC's own bylaws, which guarantee due process and transparency in leadership transitions. What's worse, the tone of the email allegedly implies that personal loyalty trumps righteousness, raising serious concerns about how leadership operates behind closed doors. 2. Secret audio recording. We'll handle her quietly. In a now viral audio clip, reportedly recorded during a private leadership retreat, a man sounding very much like Bishop Sheard is heard discussing a particular clergywoman who had raised concerns. She's loud, she's angry, she's gonna hurt the church if we don't handle her quietly. Though the voice has not been officially confirmed, many longtime COGIC members say the cadence and tone match Sheard's preaching voice. This recording has stirred massive online debate. If authentic, it could indicate a coordinated effort to suppress dissenters while maintaining a polished public image. 3. Whistleblowers. Step into the light. Several former leaders are no longer hiding in anonymity. One by one, they've begun speaking out, posting YouTube videos, granting interviews to podcasts, and sharing their documentation with reporters. One of the most vocal is evangelist Marquita D. Lewis, who served as a regional supervisor in the Midwest. She alleges she was pressured to resign after confronting Bishop Green about funds that were supposed to go to a hurricane relief mission. "They told me to let it go, that if I loved the church, I'd stay quiet. But loving God means standing for truth, and that's what I'm doing." Her testimony is already being reviewed by attorneys and may become a central piece in the discovery phase of the lawsuit. 4. The ripple effect across local churches. And the backlash isn't staying at the top. Dozens of local COGIC congregations are now grappling with the fallout. Members are demanding transparency, questioning financial decisions, and asking why so many pastors have suddenly resigned in recent months. Some churches have stopped sending tithes to the national headquarters. Others are forming independent fellowships, distancing themselves from what they call toxic leadership. One elder from Texas said in a live stream, "We grew up trusting the men on the platform, but now we're learning that power in the church doesn't always mean purity, and that's a hard pill to swallow." But there's still one major voice we haven't heard from yet. Someone who knows this leadership circle personally. Someone whose silence could break the case wide open if they decide to speak. You'll never guess who's been quietly watching from behind the scenes and may now be forced to testify. While the lawsuit is explosive on its own, things have taken an even more shocking turn behind the scenes. According to sources close to the legal proceedings, a major figure from inside the COGIC upper echelon may now be compelled to testify. Someone with first-hand knowledge of how Bishop Sheard and Bishop Green allegedly operate. That person? A former general board advisor with decades of experience. Someone who was once considered Bishop Sheard's close friend, spiritual counselor, and inner circle confidant. Though this individual hasn't gone public yet, court filings reveal that they have been subpoenaed and may be forced to hand over private communications, meeting notes, and correspondence with both Sheard and Green. Insiders say this advisor has kept receipts, and they're not just about one incident. We're talking years of documented behavior, internal memos, and possible knowledge of financial transactions, unethical decisions, and conflicts that were quietly swept under the rug. The legal team for the plaintiffs believes this testimony could validate a key argument, that COGIC's highest leadership knowingly abused their power, manipulated church structure to protect themselves, and engaged in practices that violate both spiritual integrity and corporate governance. And if that happens, we're not just talking about reputational damage. We're talking possible removal from office, mass resignations, and a structural overhaul of the Church of God in Christ from the top down. This lawsuit isn't just about a few angry leaders or a power struggle in the pulpit. It's a mirror, one that reflects the uncomfortable truth about unchecked authority in religious institutions. What began as quiet whispers has now turned into a rallying cry for transparency, accountability, and justice within COGIC, a denomination built on holiness and truth, now under siege by the very men sworn to uphold those principles. And as the case progresses, more eyes are watching. Former members, media outlets, pastors across denominations. Everyone is asking, will justice prevail or will silence once again win? In the end, this isn't just about Sheard or Green. This is about every churchgoer who ever trusted the process, every pastor who sacrificed for the mission, every woman of God pushed aside, and every truth teller who refused to back down. This is about the soul of the church, and whether or not it can survive the weight of its own leadership's actions.